a little bit of college football, and let me pull that up. Like I said, Clemson was supposed to play Florida State. That didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
What else happened? The rankings came out. That's what I was.
They did. The rankings came out. NC State stopped Liberty's undefeated run, which is unfortunate for Liberty. I guess I could say congratulations, NC State, but no, I wanted Liberty to continue to run the table. Anybody that had the opportunity to run the table, I wanted them to run the table.
You think Terry's going to do nothing but talk about that this weekend?
Oh, that's all he ever wants to talk about. If it's NC State, that's what he wants to talk about. If it's the Dallas Cowboys, no matter how shitty they are, he wants to talk about them.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what it is. So the rankings, it's unfortunate that I think Liberty now is just, they can't even sniff anywhere near it, even with a one loss.
Well, I got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Liberty, you'd think you'd still be in the top 25. But
You would think, but
how about this? Why is Ohio State 3rd and Northwestern 11?
I know Northwestern.
Who's got better wins?
Northwestern. They beat Wisconsin.
Who's got more wins?
Northwestern.
So.
I know.
You weren't here Saturday. Did you watch any of the Tom losing his mind over the college thing?
No.
Lost his ever-lover mind
over this.
Not that one, because Ohio State's on that one.
Oh, the other one.
The one that's right over there.
Yeah, the one that did not have Ohio State on there.
This is the stupidest damn thing ever.
Dang, that sounds...
He didn't say damn because he was on the radio. This is the stupidest thing. I ain't paying attention. This is dumb.
That sounds elitist.
Hell yeah. That word got brought out. I said, Terry, doesn't that sound like an elitist college football fan who's mad that his team did not earn their way into the playoffs and should be put in there just because that's their name? Doesn't that what it sound like, Hunter?
That's what it sounds like. So it sounds like, Tom, if you're listening and you like and share...
The number 3 team shouldn't be in the tournament, not if they don't qualify. You gotta qualify. You can't get in it. You can't win it if you ain't in it, right, Hunter?
And even then, Justin Fields threw 3 picks this weekend against Indiana, and you barely won.
How many top 10 North Carolina teams didn't make the NCAA tournament back in the day that lost in the conference championship or something?
A ton.
They did that a lot. Happened all the time.
A lot.
But congratulations. As of right now, Ohio State's back in the playoffs. And I'll bring that up Wednesday. We'll do the chart.
You are 4-0. Northwestern is 5-0. So how we do that, I do not know. But
will Northwestern not be rated above Miami?
Northwestern has got Northwestern should be over Miami. I would argue, just because I believe Cincinnati and BYU should be ranked over A&M in Florida. This is how this ranking should work right now. I will give you Clemson at 4 because they did lose to the number 2 team in the nation right now, Notre Dame. So there's your one loss. You can keep them in the top 4, fine. 5, Cincinnati. 6 should be BYU. 7 should be Northwestern. And is there another undefeated? The next one should be Coastal.
Coastal and Marshall.
Coastal and Marshall. Well, I can't. Oregon, I know they've only played 3 games, but they're technically undefeated too. So
USC's undefeated at 3-0.
You could keep Oregon there. Southern Cal sitting there, though, they're all the way at 19th, and they're 3-0. The craziest thing in the world to me is I saw Skip Bayless tweet this weekend. After Oklahoma beat Oklahoma State, Oklahoma should be in consideration for the college football playoff now. I said, hell no. Oklahoma's got 2 losses. They didn't even consider you for a bowl championship when it was the bowl series if you had 2 losses. We're not doing that now for the college football playoff. That's why I don't care if Georgia makes it or not. I think we got our quarterback now. Yeah. But regardless, BYU and Cincinnati have every right to the college football playoffs before a 2-loss team. And if you ask me, even the 1-loss teams in front of them outside of Clemson. I saw they had a picture today, too. One of the kids from BYU, one of the football players, he had a bandana on his head. And the top part of the bandana said Annie, and the 3 words at the bottom said Annie, like as you could read it, Annie, and then there was team, time, and where. So any team, any time, anywhere.
Who you talking about?
He's talking about the BYU, one of the players at BYU.
Did you see what happened after that?
Huh.
Oh, so you hadn't seen the more fun. That's funny you brought that up and didn't know what happened after that.
I had no idea what happened after that. I mean, because BYU...
The University of Washington saw it, Hunter.
Yeah?
They said, let's play Saturday. BYU turned them down because it would mess up their rankings if they lost. The day after that, they turned it down.
What do they want to play 2 days later?
No, they just don't want to play. They didn't want to play until after the rankings came out to see where they were if they had a chance to make.
No,
the
I know
playoffs.
that, but you said University of Washington said play us. But what they want to do? Play them 2 days
No, this
after
week coming up this weekend.
This
I think.
weekend?
Yeah, they both got to do.
Oh,
something
they
like
have
that.
a bye.
It's something like that. Well, they called him and offered to play him. BYU's already played 9 games.
Oh, I know. They've played 9. Some teams are only playing ACC or no SEC's only playing 10. ACC's playing 11.
I saw it on the Twitter is where I saw it. I'm sure I can find it on the internet to give you that info. Here it is. BYU, any team, anytime, any place. Washington says, "What's up, BYU?" There's a variety of factors that have to be considered, including location, time. Oh, I'm gonna.
I'll say this
up.
though.
This is hilarious. I mean, it's funny you brought that
I will say
up.
this though,
Because
if I was BYU, I'd have played it anyways. But
they obviously didn't want none of it.
I don't know. I'll tell you what. I don't know if that was the players or if that was the coach.
Oh God, it's funny.
You know, that was probably the coach that was like, no. But the players probably are like, yeah, we'll play.
Let's see what it said. 15 hours. I feel. Let's see. BYU wants to play. Washington wants to play BYU. Oh, here it is. BYU released a statement after turning down Washington game. BYU is still interested, but not until after the playoff rankings come out.
I don't blame them. That's fine.
Oh God.
Because that truthfully is important. Because if I was BYU, seriously, more than likely they're going to be left out of the close calls for
But don't they need a Power
the
5
rankings.
win?
That's what I'm saying. If they're left out and the committee comes out and says, well, ranking-wise, we like BYU, but they just don't have a real quality win. If I was BYU, I'd pick up the phone and say, all right, Washington, win and where? Win and where? If this is what gets us in, if we beat you, because they do have a ranked win on their schedule. They beat Boise State.
So Washington had its season.
They would have had another. They could have. I'm not going to say they would have. They could have had a potential another ranked win if they'd have played Army, but that game got postponed.
Here was the original tweet that I saw and laughed at. Was sources BYU turned down the opportunity to play Washington. Washington had reached out yesterday, but was told BYU wanted to wait until after the rankings Tuesday to gauge their place. The game is, quote, it's off the table. Still, all hope is not lost for a clash. BYU wants a firm commitment from Washington so it doesn't get bumped for another Pac-12 opponent by the end of the week. Now, if they would really do that, come on.
I don't know.
On Saturday, so now BYU saying we want to guarantee whatever, blah. Some context on the situation. BYU is interested in playing, but only if they can lock in a contract immediately. They are concerned Pac-12 will make Washington play Utah on Sunday if Arizona State can't play. If we can get a game locked in, we want to play. On Saturday, the Cougars.
That's actually a very good point because I think one of the UCLA or Cal games got canceled last week on a Saturday, and they made them play their next game on that Sunday.
Okay. Well, Cal and Washington had their game, first game of the season canceled. Mm-hmm. So they could be playing that same team actually put in there. But
so I kind of understand that because this is another thing where the Pac-12 was only supposed to play nothing but Pac-12 teams.
Right.
So I don't if the Pac-12 might be the one that really shoots this down, whether or not BYU does in fact want to play Washington or not. Like I said though, if I was BYU and you believe in yourself that you can go and beat this team, I would do it every opportunity because you can sit there and say we got another Power 5 win, shove this in your face, and we're at 10 wins.
Who else have they beat?
Actually, that would be their first Power 5 conference win. Okay. But that's only because with BYU being an independent,
right?
They had to go out there and just get whoever
they didn't have conference games set up once everybody went all conference.
Yeah, so they had to just go out and just ask people who would want to play them. They did have it set up to where they at least played Navy this year and beat Navy handily, 53-3. But this would have been a good look. Their second game of the season was supposed to be against Army, and it says it was just postponed, not canceled.
Okay.
So if they're supposed to play Army again at some time, right now Army's 22nd in the nation. So that could be another good win to go along with their Boise State game. I'm just one of these people right now that, how Tom was over here supposedly being an elitist on Saturday. To me, if BYU can go undefeated and be at double-digit wins over Now they can only get the maybe 8 wins if they win the conference championship in Ohio State. I'm sorry, I'm taking BYU.
They can only get to 8.
Yeah, because they canceled one. It was supposed to be an 8-game season.
Actually, 6,
They
or 7.
Well, Ohio State had to cancel one, so it went from being an 8-game season to a 7. But if they win the Big 10 championship, that would be their 8th, right?
Right.
Okay.
So they only got 3 more games left.
Yeah, that's it.
Illinois, Michigan, Michigan State.
Damn, those sound real hard.
So they beat Indiana, gave up 35 to Indiana. Northwestern beat Wisconsin and only gave up 7.
Oh, yeah, they dog-walked Wisconsin.
So which one's been more impressive? Now, here's Northwestern's wins. Maryland, Iowa, Nebraska, Purdue, Wisconsin. Iowa State beat Nebraska. Rutgers, big football school they are. Maryland got canceled. Beat Penn State, who's 0-5 this year.
Yeah, they're 0-5 for the first time in school history.
And then beat Indiana, another great football school. So, like, I know
if you look
you have
at
to
it,
go by the years and everything, but
if you look at like how each team has done this year, Northwestern has better wins because Purdue has been decent. Iowa is always decent. Maryland was a good win. But the one that solidified all that, Nebraska's just still bad.
They both play Illinois, Michigan State still.
But the one that solidified Northwestern to me was Wisconsin.
Well, you hold them to 7 points.
You hold them to 7 points.
College.
Absolutely. And Wisconsin, did you see what Wisconsin did the week prior to Michigan? Good God.
Let me read these to you, okay? I'm going to say them out loud. 17, 25, 27, 35. That's how many points the Buckeyes are giving up on defense. So the lowest is 17, most is 35. So somewhere around the 25 range.
Right.
Here's Northwestern's. 3, 20, 13, 20, and 7.
So the most they gave up is 20.
20. In 5 games, Nebraska's only given up 20 points. The most to a team. Ohio State's given up 20 every game except Nebraska, and they give up 17 to them. Nebraska got 13 on Northwestern. So you talk about these offenses all you want.
Listen,
Ohio State's defense isn't doing well at all.
People are going to be upset
giving up
about
25
this.
points a game.
They'll be upset about it too, but this is a year for change. This is a year for change. Every sport seems to be doing something different. So why would you not, at this point, I would be totally fine if the committee came out and said, you know what, we're going to have a 6-team playoff. The 2 number 1 seeds on each side get a bye. I'd be perfectly fine with that.
A 6-team, not 16 playoff.
Yes, 16.
I was thinking that.
No. I was talking about. I'm just talking about a 6-team because that would be the most that they would probably want to do.
My daughter's in kindergarten right now. We're working our M's and our N's.
Ah, I see. Yes, 6-team, not a 16.
I mean, a
6-team playoff.
I'm not just trying to troll anybody. I'm just saying your team is 5-0. The other team is 4-0. You haven't given up more than 20 points yet. You beat a number 10 team, and the other team beat a number 9 or 11 team, and they've given up 30, 25 points a game. So, like, you're giving up 10 points less a game than they are. And, like, so if they didn't have the names on the jerseys, Hunter, and we're just looking at resumes like you're supposed to
if you're
do
just
in
looking at the
basketball,
purple team or the red team,
right, and like they supposedly do in basketball with the RPIs and all that other stuff, Northwestern should be 3rd and Ohio State 11th if that's the spots that they belong.
Technically, BYU and Cincinnati should be sitting there at 3 and 4. You can keep Notre Dame at 2 and Alabama at 1.
See, that's where we were talking about our rankings here. If they're not going to allow an outside team in the championship, they shouldn't allow the voters. Here's the rule, voters. You can't put a non-Power 5 team
in at all. You can't vote them in top 10. Yeah,
top 10. If you want to list them at
the
11,
highest they can get's 11.
If that's what you want to do. Now listen, I hate to be. That's an elitist thought, but what they're doing by allowing them to get to 5 or 6
is just keeping them out,
and then keep winning, and they keep dropping, is pissing on their leg and telling them it's raining. Hey guys, like you said, you keep winning. All you gotta do is win the games.
All you gotta do, you just keep winning. Don't worry. Don't worry. That's all we've ever told you to do in college football.
Right.
You just keep winning, and you'll get recognition. Ask Central Florida how that worked for
They
them.
backed up once they got who's BYU didn't Cincinnati get to 5 or 6 at one point? And then
Yeah,
backed
Cincinnati got to 6 backed up because Florida beat Georgia,
Yeah.
and A&M still only had 1 loss. So they
Yeah.
bumped both of them in front of them. And Florida's only loss was to Texas A&M.
Who does Florida still play?
That's a good question. I'm not sure who they still play.
Florida and Texas A&M. Well, Alabama between the three. Texas A&M's got to play Alabama still, right?
No, Texas A&M's only loss is to Alabama.
Oh, okay. So then they shouldn't even be in the top 10.
No.
Because here's why. Why are they fifth, Hunter? Besides, other than domestic, you know why they're fifth? It's to fuck with BYU and Cincinnati.
That's exactly why Florida is there.
Because get this, if
No, think about it. The only reason why Texas A&M is even ranked in front of Florida is because Florida's only loss is to Texas A&M.
okay, but I've got a quick. I understand that totally, and that's hard to get by.
Give the qualm.
But the problem is, Texas A&M doesn't have a chance to be the second best team in the SEC because they're in Alabama's division.
Right.
So what that means is that Texas A&M they can't finish better than third in their conference. So if you can't finish third in your conference, I'm gonna have another rule: you can't be top 10. Group of 5, only the top 2 teams, because
Texas,
maybe top 5.
A&M,
top 5.
A&M's remaining games.
I understand they beat Florida, Hunter, and I'll make that argument all day. But again, can they get higher than 5?
Who?
Texas A&M the rest of the year,
No.
unless everybody in front of them loses.
That's what
And
I
that means, but if that happens, Florida's going to beat Alabama, and that means Florida will be above them.
And think about
I think
this.
they've got them in there just to screw with the BYU's and Cincinnati.
Not only that, they have had their past game this weekend postponed against Ole Miss. There's no guarantee that Texas A&M would have won. There's no guarantee that would have lost. Then they play this weekend against LSU. They play next weekend against Auburn. They can lose that game against Auburn. And then they play a postponed game that was moved against Tennessee. So they still have 3 games to play. I have not seen them say anything about the Ole Miss game when it's going to come back around. So
all right, Northwestern's 8-0. Where are they?
Okay, say they're 8-0.
Where would they be? Where should they be ranked?
Are you talking about 8-0 just throughout that, or
Right before the Ohio State game?
Okay, right before the Big Ten championship game.
If they're both
top
undefeated,
10.
if they're both undefeated and they have a better record and they'll have one more win, Ohio State, and a better win, and
they won't do that.
And they're going to have Ohio State ranked ahead of them still.
Oh yeah, they will. That's what I mean.
Opinions. That's why I hate this sport. It's about opinions.
They won't do that for Northwestern. Northwestern.
If it was the
seriously,
reverse opposite,
if Northwestern
no argument
gets through, if Northwestern wins out and is undefeated going into their Ohio State game for the Big Ten championship, I believe Ohio State will still be third because Notre Dame and Alabama will be first and second. I think Northwestern will be sitting at 5 or 6.
You think they'll jump Cincinnati and BYU?
Oh my God, yeah, it's a Big Ten team.
I mean, they should. I'm just saying, where they got them now is completely
technically for me and you.
Completely
technically, though, from me to you, they shouldn't jump BYU or Cincinnati if they're undefeated at the same time because they've done everything that you asked them to do. That's the point I've been trying to make for these past few weeks. Is they've done everything that the college football committee wants you to do, which is win. And so for Northwestern, my ideal ranking would be, okay, Alabama probably should be 1. Notre Dame would be 2. Fine, I'll give you Ohio State 3. Really, 4 should be Cincinnati. 5 should be maybe BYU or Northwestern. Or vice versa to be 6. And then Clemson sitting there at 7. I'm sorry, Clemson, but you got a loss, whether or not Trevor Lawrence was playing or not. A loss is a loss.
Clemson kind of also got saved by them doing a one-whole division and not splitting them.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know where Notre Dame would have ended up, but just what if they were in their division?
Well, yeah, if they were in their same division.
They played each other, so obviously they would have been.
But even then, with Notre Dame beating them, Clemson wouldn't have been able to play for the ACC championship game.
That would have been awesome.
Yeah.
That would have been great. See, people like Tom and Shannon thinks that's terrible. That team should be ranked because that's where we think. That just blows my mind. That's because of what we think.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it should be.
Yeah.
And in the history of this planet, that's not right. It just goes that's what you think. Doesn't mean that's what it should be. Listen, if you can't get in, you can't get in. I would love to see who's in the ACC, who's third in the ACC.
Was it Miami?
Yes, it is. Well, it would be Miami and Notre Dame for the championship.
Ugh.
Ugh.
I think they're getting ready to play this weekend, though.
Are they? Well, then it wouldn't be. Maybe it would. I don't know. I would like to see something different than the same olds. Again, I like Hunter's idea of as always, not rank teams until 4 or 5 weeks into the season, and then that would save because the voters go, well, they beat them. Do I move them up 7 spots now? Like Northwestern had to move up 8 spots, but if you put them where they should be, they probably had to move up 22, and then they have to admit they're wrong, Hunter. And it's hard for people to admit they're wrong. Look, the top 8 spots didn't move.
I'm serious, but I would be fine with this year if they did, because what they always show you when they do that college football committee and the reveal of their top 4 teams,
right.
They always show you teams 5 and 6, though. They're always like, well, this team is at 6 and this team is at 5. And they're basically tickling their ball sack. They're like, guess what? You were kind of close, but like not quite there. So, and then they show 4, 3, 2, 1. I would be fine if they said, well, this year we're going to adopt the 6 teams. If you're the first 2 seeds, you get a bye, and after that, everybody has to play each other. Then I'm like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
But not now. You know how many people would shit their pants that 3 SEC teams make this? With Texas A&M and Florida sitting there at 5 and 6?
With undefeated teams out there?
Exactly. You would get the biggest shit show because everybody would scream SEC bias.
The number one problem with college sports, especially college football, besides paying them, is the rankings. Because we don't do this in any other sports. I mean, what other sports do we do this?
I mean, I don't understand why you can't use like college basketball's algorithm at some point here in this college football.
Anything would do for me.
Because that's what the difference is, I hate algorithms in general, whether or not we're talking like social media algorithms or YouTube or whatnot. But for this, where there would be a legitimate, this is output A and output B, like they do in college basketball with, what is it, the RPI ranking or whatever it is. If they did that with this, instead of just having a committee that Condoleezza fucking Rice was a part of at one point, I don't know if she still is.
Let me ask you this. What?
That's no shot at Condoleezza Rice. I'm just saying, like, you're just grabbing these people from left and right, and who's to say that these guys that are part of it don't already have conference bias because maybe they coached in it or they were an AD in it.
So what I was going to say as far as the biggest problem in college sports is that basketball used to, or especially college football, they don't have any automatic qualifiers.
No.
So there's nothing you can do that says, if I do this, I'm in. It's all about opinions, and that just doesn't fly with me. So when you look at our sheet, Hunter, we got 10 qualifiers from the Power 10.
And those are automatic qualifiers that we have set in place.
Let's say, and then let's just use our sheet for an example. How about this, Hunter?
Do we have our sheet on the screen?
From the other day, I can
maybe not updated.
Actually, I think I can. Give me a second. I had it from Saturday, so I can definitely do it. I just got to find out which one's the one I need to push and all that other stuff. But what I was going to tell you is, that what if we took those 16? Those are the automatic qualifiers, and then you ranked those BCS style, whatever formula they want to come up with. Because then that right there would kick out Texas A&M. That right there would kick out Miami.
Yeah.
That would kick out the teams that are in third, because you don't want that. You just can't have a third-place team that don't make their conference championship end up in the BCS because voters think that they deserve another chance. Like if Clemson got knocked out this year.
No, I agree with that. So essentially what you're saying is
make that automatic qualifiers.
Our automatic qualifiers are you have to win your conference if you're a Power 5 and if you're a non-5, the group of 5.
You got to win your conference. No matter what,
you got to win your conference. So there's 10 spots filled.
Right.
And then
1 independent and 5 groups.
The one independent, and then the other 5 that we had. We can go back and forth on this, but you said it was the people that finished second in the Power 5.
Right.
Which is
even
fine.
if you only did here's what people get pissy about.
That's just not updated. Don't worry about that.
Right. This is an update for this weekend. This is for last weekend. But the thing is that they would get, you have, so when you look at this, Hunter, you take your top 4 teams. Okay, we could do it that way. What if you only took conference champions and got rid of the second place? Because first of all,
if you only took conference champions, then you got 10.
Right.
You got 10.
And you could still fill 4 spots out of 10.
You could.
Can you not?
You
It
could.
should. So the problem it has is you got those SEC people that even like, let's say Hunter, for example, is a Georgia fan. People like Hunter would say, we're better than those teams. But the argument for me is that may be true, but you don't deserve to get that spot.
Because you didn't
win. You didn't finish out what you wanted to do. And that's what I mean by, like, man, so even if you really wanted to restrict it, you could say only Power 5 champs. And then one of those gets the shit end of the brick. I would rather do it that way and one guy get the shit than another way and two conferences get the shit. Because think about it, when you add a second place team from another conference, 2 conference Power 5s don't make the Final Four. And that right there, to me, that's when you get into problems and issues.
Well, if that's the case, then why do we not have 2 separate committees that would just do the Power 5 championship and the Group of 5 championship? Because think about it. Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
That's what we want to do.
And I agree with you on that. Yeah. But like you just said, if you were just going to do the 4 and one guy gets shitted from the Power 5 conference champions, then just do the same thing with the Group of 5. Because you're going to have a la Cincinnati.
Oh, you want to have another tournament with them?
Yeah. Cincinnati.
That's not a bad idea. Money-making idea
between Cincinnati. So here's your 4 already. You can even throw BYU in there. And like you said, you have to just shit somebody. In this case, you'd be shitting 2 people because they're independent. But they're undefeated. It'd be BYU, Marshall, Coastal Carolina, and Cincinnati. To me, I don't know. I could not tell you who I believe is going to make it out of that, but I would probably put more money on BYU and Cincinnati.
Probably.
But I think those games would have the potential to be closer than some of the Power 5 games.
I would rather watch Cincinnati, BYU, Coastal, and Marshall play a 4-team tournament than Alabama, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Clemson. Because guess what? I would bet those other games are going to be a lot closer. How many times have we watched
That's what I was just saying. These games would be closer than maybe Alabama, Notre Dame, and Alabama blows them out by like 25.
Like, what was Clemson favored by this weekend or last time they played? Weren't they favored by like 10 against Notre Dame?
When?
A few weeks ago.
No, they were favored by 5.
Okay.
But
that was without Lawrence.
Without Lawrence in Notre Dame.
Right. And they were still favored.
Yeah.
So that's what people expected. Who's Alabama's toughest opponent this year? They play
Auburn.
Anybody that can play football this year?
Maybe Auburn.
Georgia?
Oh, yeah. Well.
That's all they got left is Auburn and Arkansas. So, look, let's look at Alabama. Well, they beat Texas A&M, they beat Georgia. So, there you go. You got 2 good wins. Missouri, Tennessee, Mississippi State.
They blew out whoever they played this past weekend.
Kentucky.
Yeah, it was like 63-3 or something.
In the last 2 games, Hunter, they've outscored their SEC opponents. Remember, App doesn't belong in the SEC because these other teams are way much better than them. 104-3.
Nice.
104-3 against Mississippi State and Kentucky. Kick them out of the SEC right now. We need to have that rule for college football.
We talked about relegation.
We definitely need to have it for college football.
We talked about relegation.
Well, because
those teams in the SEC get kicked out for North Dakota State.
Right. How much better would that be if Kentucky got kicked out and you let the Apps of the worlds and the BYUs of the worlds into the actual,
big conferences.
So what you could do is you could tie one of the other Group of 5 conferences to each big conference. So the Sun Belt
will be to the SEC.
The top 2 Sun Belt teams will replace the bottom 2 SEC.
That'd be fine.
Or the top 2 Conference USA teams will replace the bottom 2 ACC.
European,
and you got your chance the next year.
They do it in England for soccer.
And to get back in, you got to win to get in.
They do it in England for soccer. You cannot, if you come in, you do not want to be a part of that team that gets relegated because that is embarrassing.
Right. And then how does your recruiting work from there?
Well, that's trying to sign people. That's kind of
tough. Sorry, Chris. We just now got our thing refreshed. I just now seen your comments. I don't know if you're still watching online. UConn was the 7 seed. Hunter mentioned. Villanova was the 8 and 85. And that was the last year without a shot clock. So I guess that's what they're doing with that. I know, Chris, Roy beat John Ruiz for the heavyweight, but that's not worth shit. A super sparring special. It may be true with no judges. He says no judges, so there's not going to be points. So basically, Jones is just trying not to get knocked out for
That's what I'm saying. And guess what? We're gonna watch. We're gonna watch a
You better not
Pacquiao.
let him catch
We're
him.
watching a Pacquiao Floyd fight.
No,
here.
we're not.
Because
those two little children slap each other.
No, I'm saying when you watch them fight, Floyd ran the whole time from Pacquiao.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. You might be seeing now. I don't know. Jones might have a little bit more pride than that, but he's gonna do a little bit of dodging and ducking. All right.
Just think, you can do all the thinking, all the you planning, everything.
Everything changes when you get hit.
Not even that, Hunter. Just picture yourself. Close your eyes. I'm in the corner of a boxing match. I'm about to make $20 million. And you hear the bell ring go, ding, ding, ding. And you open your eyes. And standing right there in front of you is Mike fucking Tyson. Maybe the hardest puncher on the planet ever. That's the point. Roy can sit there and plan all he wants. Like, man, I hope he doesn't get hurt. But I'm pulling for a knockout, Hunter. I want y'all's generation to see that man swing and make contact. He might not make contact. He might miss he might Pacquiao, and like you said, Pacquiao Floyd. You're right. I think I like that road you're going down with that. Because Pacquiao, everybody said he could hit, and Floyd couldn't. Even though they weighed 110 pounds or whatever. I got cheerleaders that weigh more than that on local high school teams. But these fighters. Anyway, but I mean, Tyson it's just a different punch, man. But you got to land it. Like Hunter said, you got to land it. All right, Hunter, any other college football comments?
No. I enjoyed watching the games that I watched this weekend, though. It was another good weekend of college football. Like, everybody, you can get mad as all you want at the rankings and stuff. When you sit down and you watch college football, it's still an enjoyable product that they put on the field. And I will say this as well. I was hot on him a few weeks ago when I said he was a Heisman favorite. He has now thrown the most touchdowns in SEC history through his first 7 games. He's at like 20-something. Kyle Trask. Watch out, ladies and gentlemen. Kyle Trask at Florida is for real. I still like Zach Wilson with BYU, but Kyle Trask is the real deal.
Cincinnati plays Tulsa.
Tulsa got an upset.
The last game of the season.
Tulsa beat SMU, didn't they?
Tulsa is undefeated in the conference.
Mm-hmm.
Their only loss is week 1 to Oklahoma State. They beat UCF, who was 11. They beat SMU, who was 19.
Mm-hmm.
So Tulsa has 2 top 25 victories. And there are plenty of teams in the top 25 that don't have none of those. Carolina don't have one, do they?
No.
They're in the top 25. Is Tulsa ranked?
We did. We beat NC State when they were ranked.
Nah, I'm talking about ranked now.
Oh.
That's what I look at, is ranked now.
Oh, I don't know.
Because, like I said, that the
did
rankings...
Did NC State make it back in the rankings? I don't know.
I didn't
They
see.
beat an undefeated.
Shouldn't they?
They beat an undefeated Liberty.
Maybe that's what will be Terry's.
That'll be Terry's corner. His little rant. He'll say, "How is Liberty still ranked ahead of us somehow?" I don't know.
Well, Carolina beat State, right? Handedly.
Oh yeah, it was handily. We put up a lot of points.
NC State don't even have a vote.
Well,
App still got vote from the coaches. Thank God. Liberty's 27th in both polls.
Listen, North Carolina is
State got
fringe.
votes in the coaches.
North Carolina is fringe for a reason. All right, I'm perfectly fine with that.
Speaking of that, real quick, I did hear something on the radio I thought was weird listening to the App game. The announcer called them State.
Called him State, like instead of saying App State, he just called him State.
He was, and he did it more than once. Like he was like State today, blah blah. And I'm like, is this guy from this state?
Is he from? Does he not realize who you?
Does he know he's doing? I've never in my life actually heard
anybody refer to them as like State.
Right.
I know who people talk about in this state when they refer to State, and that's NC State.
Right, because it's the North Carolina State.
Yeah. Not Appalachian State.
He kept saying it over and I mean, he said it a bunch, and it was burning my ears.
It was getting
Amy,
on your nerves.
I told Amy, I
it?
said, "This is driving me crazy." She's like, "What?" And I was like, "Have you ever heard anybody call?" I've heard App State, Appy State,
Appalachia,
Apps. I've heard the Apps. I've heard the Mountaineers, Appalachia. You don't pronounce it right.
Mm-hmm.
I've never in my life heard anyone just refer to him as like, "Well, State's got the ball here on the 23," and that's how he was talking. It wasn't like, go State. It was like State has the ball or State scored. And I'm like, what am I listening to? That was really aggravating.
No. See, this is what people don't understand, and I will argue this to the day I die. So for your example right now, we're from obviously North Carolina, been here all our lives, but when you say state, we think of NC State, we don't think of App State. When you say App, that's who we think of as Appalachian. It's the same thing for me whenever I hear somebody say, well, what about Carolina? I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. There is no other Carolina. North Carolina is Carolina. South Carolina is not even USC anymore because that's Southern Cal. So
they're so wannabes.
They are.
The Gamecocks.
They are.
They want to be the Carolina. They want to be USC. And then now.
They want to be the Chanticleers.
I was about to say now, there's a better fighting chicken in their own state.
Like, you don't know how many people I've asked before. I'm like, so who do you root for? And they're like, Carolina. I'm like, oh, you're a Tar Heel fan. They're like, no, Gamecocks. I'm like, excuse me?
The response should be two things. What sport? And then, like, what sport are you rooting for them in? And then the other thing is, that's not the real North Carolina.
That's not Carolina. And sometimes they'll say, I'm going to a USC football game. And I'm like, what the hell? You're going to Southern Cal? No, I'm going to a South Carolina game. No, that's South Carolina. That's a Gamecocks game. Like, USC was, you forget, USC at one time was called a dynasty.
Yeah.
And that's how they were referred to, as USC. Yeah. South Carolina has never been referred to as a dynasty.
No. Them damn yard Raptors.
You don't have the only thing you have a championship in is baseball.
Right.
And women's basketball now.
Yeah.
Women's basketball now. But at least North Carolina's got the men's basketball championships, and Southern Cal has got the football championships.
North Carolina has more soccer championships than women's soccer championships, and their whole school has everything combined.
North Carolina has 20-plus women's soccer championships.
They probably actually got more basketball championships than South Carolina has everything combined. All right, so